liot nafsham libam el Hashem, that their heart and their being would be devoted to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. That was the goal over here. Of tich alav yisborach shemo shelo yasem behem as a gili hor agadol, the tika kadisha, another name for the island of Ayin, gam b'yasam b'midbar. Kodesh Baruch Hu would have promised them had they just trusted in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Forget about the rationale, the justification, the fears, and the concerns. Put it all aside. Just trust. That's it. Just trust. We don't merit. Forget it. Did you merit up until now? No. Just trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that'll be enough. Don't pay attention to the Yetzer Hara. Don't be overtaken and be concerned about what he's doing and his machinations and his planning and his contriving, and don't look at that. Just trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, right? And it was all for Nisyonasa, right? To the testing. Hinei az hayazeh gufa inin hisrusa l'tata. That itself, just the trusting itself, is enough to misaret, to inspire, to arouse, to awaken. Right from below, lamshich la'amid aleihim, to draw the light down. That's what draws the light down itself. Right, hagilu hor gadol da'arich ampi la'olam, forever. Right, just the trusting in the Kodesh Baruch Hu and staying with the Kodesh Baruch Hu and staying connected to the Kodesh Baruch Hu. That is what specifically draws the light down. That's the effort that a person has to make. Kol b'dei shemayim chutz me'yir shemayim. Everything is in the hands of heaven except for the fear of heaven, the seeing of heaven is the same idea. Now you can plan all you want, and you can invest in stocks, and you can build houses, and you can do all kinds of things, and try and be successful as you want to be. But the bottom line is all that you really control in the end is your attitude, and primarily how much you're going to trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, regardless of the logic of the entire situation, how bad the situation looks. I mean, the miracles upon miracles that take place. Just what happened last week in the volcano with the boy in Belgium who got his liver, a liver transplant, because the volcano erupted in the end, and Hashgacha Pratis went in his direction to help him out upon story upon story upon story, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu's there. Whether you see him, whether you feel him, whether you realize it, whether you're real with it, the bottom line, he's there. And everything is a test. Now, it's important to understand a midbar is more than just a sandy place. It's a very famous story of Aaron Kotler, who is part of the Mir Yeshiva, the fortunate few who were able to travel across Russia, eventually to China, and survived Lamalim Teva, miraculously to get to Shanghai eventually, and set up a yeshiva where they, after the war, they survived the war. They had to decide whether to go to America or to go to Eretz Israel. And Rav Aaron at that point in time, and he was trying to make a decision whether he should go to America or to Israel. And he did the famous Gor L'Gra. He opened the Chumash specifically. I suppose there are certain rules you have to follow in doing this, because it's, you can make up all kinds of connections and randomness and see things that don't really exist. But it's all Hashgacha Pratis, and he opened up, and Rav Moshe Feinstein himself, who was living in America already, he was asking Rav Aaron Kotler to come to America to help him build Jewry there. It was a barren, it was a wasteland, spiritual wasteland in America after World War II. And which is why a lot of Jews did not leave Europe in the first place, even though it was dangerous to remain there. And he did the Gor L'Gra, and he opened up the Parshas Ve'era, Parshas Shmos, when it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Aaron to go to the Midbar to meet Moshe, right? Talking about Moshe Benu, Aaron Cohen, right? And Moshe is coming to Mitzrayim to begin the process of Geula, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Aaron to go out to the Midbar to meet him. And Rav Aaron Kotler took that as a siman mufhak, a clear-cut siman from Shemayim, that Aaron should go to the Midbar, which was America at that time, to meet Moshe Feinstein, right? Tremendous Hashgacha Pratis. He did exactly that. It was not a wasted effort. Rather, he and Rav Moshe Feinstein and perhaps a few other great people of their time built Orthodox Jewry from the ground up to make it what it is today. Flourish, aside from how influential it is in the Western world, but just the fact that you could survive, and they made the desert bloom. But it wasn't a physical desert in as much as it was sandy and lacking life. Rather, it was a spiritual midbar, a spiritual desert. And a desert specifically is a place that you go into that's lifeless. Not necessarily physically lifeless, but spiritual lifeless. Meaning you could walk into a mall, a canyon, they call them over here, tremendously spiritually the empty place where it's just materialism and promiscuity because of the advertising and the lifestyle that's supported in the Western world is a midbar too. So, you have your places of refuge to go to, a Beit Knesset, Beit Medrash to learn, you have your Sheish Mitzvahs, Tamidus in your pockets, all kinds of devices. But the bottom line is a midbar is someplace where you are pulled by the Sitra Achra. That's the definition he's saying over here of the midbar. You're pulled by the sun, right? The Malach who tries to tempt us and drag us in the wrong direction because that's his job. That's how we utilize our free will to serve God instead. So any place you go, that even though you might be wearing a kippah, like the Anei Kavod, right? You might be wearing tzitzis and a black hat and a jacket, the whole thing, and look the part. But you're going someplace where it's pulling at your heartstrings and it's dragging you in a direction that does not make you focus on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Does not make you think about Hashem. And even you're still thinking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're still being dragged to do things, and you're rationalizing and justifying, and deep down inside it's the wrong thing to do, but what can you do? It's like being on a conveyor belt, you're being pulled into it. That's a midbar. That's a midbar too. And you have to know that you have to avoid these things as much as possible. But if you have to go into there for some halachic reason, for some Torah reason, you're forced to go into a place that's not spiritually supportive of a Torah way of life. It's a test. It's a Nesuyin. Because Baruch Hu took them there to defeat the Sitra Achra, to overcome him. That's what it's for. Not to have a party and to forget who you are, and Mechal Shem Shemayim. And if you can't stand up to the test, you have to think twice about going in the first place, whether you really have to go. Can you accomplish the same thing in a spiritually safer way? Send your mother, send your wife, send your kid, girl, whatever. But be careful. That's a midbar. Because Baruch Hu's testing us. And you have to know, if he puts you in the test, you can pass, you can succeed. And that's what you're doing there. You're not just going there to buy the suit, or to buy the shoes, or to buy the computer equipment, whatever the case may be. You're going there to survive spiritually, to come out of it in a higher madrega. Because if you can make it in the midbar, you can make it anywhere. Wherever the midbar may be, whatever the midbar may be, it's all a test. And we have to rise to the occasion. That's the greatest Kiddush Hashem, and that is the greatest source of schar in Olam Haba.